What's going on YouTube? My name is Sahil, and are you looking for something sleek, sexy, curvy, beautiful that has a lot of space in the trunk? That's not what I meant. What I meant was, are you looking for a hot hatchback? And if you were looking for a hot hatchback, what would you be looking for? A Fiesta, a Civic Type R, a Golf? The ultimate hot hatchback is the one that I'm going to tell you about today. And that car is the Volkswagen Scirocco. Hit that intro. Now, how did this car come to be? So the punch buggy, aka the car that 40-year-old moms love to put eyelashes on, had been around since 1955, and Volkswagen needed something new. Since Volkswagen needed something new that would sell, they gave the job to Italdesign. Now, the head designer for Italdesign was responsible for cars, beautiful cars like the Lotus Esprit. And this company, Italdesign, went on to design the Volkswagen Golf, the very first Volkswagen Golf ever, but they hadn't released it to the public yet. And Volkswagen wanted to showcase what the Golf could do, so they made a baby Golf and they called it the Volkswagen Scirocco because they wanted to display what the Volkswagen Golf will be able to do. So now they had a sporty coupe in their lineup, and they had a car that could showcase what the Volkswagen Golf was going to bring to the table. In the early 1970s, when this car first came out, it didn't really make a lot of power at all. The only engine that was offered was a 4-cylinder that made 85 horsepower. But you have to remember that this thing didn't weigh a lot, just like Instagram models who starved themselves for likes. It had a 0 to 60 time of eventually, but that doesn't mean that this car wasn't special. It's actually one of the most special cars ever created because it started a whole new category of cars, and this category was known as the hot hatchback. Back then, it was one of the only practical coupes that could perform when you needed to and haul things around if you wanted to do that too. It weighed less than a Mazda Miata, and Europe even got a GTI version of this thing. And just like a lot of cool cars, it didn't come to the United States, but I kind of have a theory for that. So what was going on in the 1970s in America? Think about it. The oil crisis. So what that means is that if they bought this car to the United States in the 1970s, chances were that it probably wasn't going to sell very well because JDM cars were hitting huge in the American market in the 1970s because they had 3 cylinders and they were getting about 57 miles to the gallon. And the American market needed more fuel efficient cars. Not saying that this car wasn't fuel efficient, but it just wouldn't have been practical to bring a performance variance to the United States in that time period. But the first generation of the Scirocco did initially experience success in the European market. And that's why the Mark II generation of the Volkswagen Scirocco came out. And it was bigger than the last time we saw it, just like Chris Christie. In the later years of the Mark II generation, this car saw bigger brakes, sway bars, and a cool 123 horsepower dual overhead cam engine. Even though the first generation was successful and the second generation had a lot of upgrades, people just weren't buying them anymore. And a good reason for that is because there was a 4-door version of this thing. So why would you buy the 2-door version when you could just get more practicality with the 4-door version? The 4-door version obviously being the Golf. The Scirocco stopped production, and in 1992, just like Charlie Sheen, it got replaced by something better. In 1992 debuted the Volkswagen Corrado. Now the Corrado is mainly known for its VR6 engine, which sounds glorious. Here's a little audio clip. Corrado was also an amazing car, but over the years it started becoming more expensive than its competition. So the Corrado was starting to become expensive for Volkswagen, and in 2008 the car turned 16. Get out of here. I said the car turned 16, not the kid. So in 2008, Volkswagen decided to bring back the Volkswagen Scirocco. So is this a good buy? In my opinion, it is a good buy because of one major statistic, and that is its reliability. People who bought the Volkswagen Scirocco reported no major issues, and the car was very reliable throughout its lifetime. Some of the lower trim models of the Volkswagen Scirocco got as much as 54 miles per gallon, and that statistic is straight off the Volkswagen website, so it's probably not true. In 2009, Volkswagen came out with the ultimate Scirocco, and that car was the Volkswagen Scirocco R, and it got 276 horsepower and a manual transmission, and it had a hatchback. And that is all a car enthusiast ever really wants. Another thing this car was known for was its comfortable suspension. Now, if you drive a Focus RS, you probably have sciatica and need to get an x-ray done of your lower lumbar. But with the Scirocco, it actually had a comfortable suspension and the ride wouldn't beat you up. The car was made up until 2017, and I would say 2015 is about the time where technology in cars really started to take off. Luckily for us, that meant you could get a nice Volkswagen Scirocco R that had dual zone climate control and parking sensors. And it actually had pretty usable back seats just in case you had a kid like Kevin Spacey. And it even had 60/40 rear seats. And if you know anything about Volkswagens or have driven Volkswagens, you know they actually have pretty good interior build quality. And that was carried on to this car too. To me, that's still not the best reason to buy a Volkswagen Scirocco R. Now, they were made from 2009 to 2017 in the modern era. So that means they held their resale value really well since the car is out of production now. And if you look on a car website like CarGurus, you can pick one up for about $23,000 today. So you can say that this car definitely really does hold its value pretty well, and it still will when you go to sell it. But here's the problem that went down at Volkswagen. The Scirocco basically had the same powertrain as the Golf and the same interior as the Golf. That means Volkswagen was just dumping money into the design of this thing, just trying to keep this thing alive. So if you think about it, they were losing more money than they were gaining. And they didn't want a car to compete with the Volkswagen Golf because the Golf sells consistently each and every single year. Which is why in 2017, the Volkswagen Scirocco got killed, just like anybody who accused Kevin Spacey. So this car is like every car enthusiast's dream. Practical, nice interior, nice exterior, manual transmission, good bit of power. It also had great technology that went along with it. So there's no reason really not to get this car. And the cherry on top is when you go to sell this thing, let's say you decide you don't want it anymore, it has a pretty good resale value. And these are exactly the reasons why I would love to see this car revived once again. But chances are that that's not going to happen because it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint. They might use the name again, however, to sell an EV, but that's about the only thing I can think of as far as this car coming back. And that's been my video on the Volkswagen Scirocco R. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more awesome content, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.